table topics. Always fun. You get a chance to think quickly on your feet. And our table topics master for the day will be Mike Cuban. And this is where you get to exercise your quick thinking. As Franklin Delano Roosevelt said, be sincere, be brief, be seated.
Thanks. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, thank you. The table topics section of our meeting has two purposes. The first is to provide a speaking opportunity to some of our members and guests who do not have a speaking role. Second purpose is to improve our unplanned speaking skills. My role as table topics master is to ask short questions based on the theme for today, which is Father's Day. No research or in-depth thinking is really necessary to answer these questions, and there is no right or wrong answer. Let's review the timing of table topics. Our timer, Young Lee, will hold up the green card at 1 minute, the yellow card at 1.5 minutes, the red card at 2 minutes. In addition, if a tabletop speaker wants to answer an earlier question, he or she may do so. We will now begin the tabletop speaking section of our meeting. First question. As we get older, they say that we become more like our parents. Do you think you are becoming more or less like your father? Ming Liang, one.
As I grow up, I think I have two stages. The first stage, I grew more and more like my father. That's when I was, I think, memorized. I had memory at 5, and then I grew up like until my college. At that period, I always wanted to be my father. He's so smart, experienced, brilliant, and he's so good at analysis, good at summarize. He can always summarize everything into 3 points. I mean, every time I ask him what wise, he will start with number 1, number 2, and number 3. And I feel like, wow, he's such a smart guy. He knows everything. So now it goes to my next stage. My next stage is when I study overseas. When I feel like, especially, right now I seem to have more experience. Because my father always lived in China, in South Ski. He doesn't travel too much. So right now I have second stage. I have experience in America. I travel to a lot of places. I start to see more and more and learn more and more. Even though my father still answer my question into 3 points, but sometimes I feel like I still sometimes I probably do not agree with him. But overall, it doesn't matter. I like my father. I mean, I become more or less like my father or not. In my heart, I always love my father and respect him very much. Thank you.
Great job.
Our parents always want the best for us. Years ago, fathers wanted their sons to follow in their footsteps. Would you say that you have followed in your father's footsteps, or are you making your own footprints? Jesse?
Members and guests, good morning.
Good morning.
Am I following my father's footsteps? No. I'm not following my father's footsteps. My father's a great man. He has his own interests. I think my brother's kind of following in his footsteps, but I'm
over our house to celebrate Father's Day for Alex, the daddy mouse, who had 13 children. No small feat. What kind of celebrations do you think you would see going on? Cindy Chen? Excuse me? I will read it again. My daughter Lillian has several pet mice. If you were to come over our house to celebrate Father's Day for Alex, the daddy mouse, he had 13 children. What kind of celebrations do you think you would see going on?
That's a good question. Used to be, I saw it like this in some house. Because of this question is tricky. Now is we are celebrating the Father's Day, but still has a lot of mice and fish. How can we celebrate? Somebody come to want to celebrate Father's Day, please help us to clean it up. We celebrate together, and after that we celebrate together, and we celebrate big surprise, right? And then the first thing is we have to clean up our house first. That's why we want to clean up. We want to celebrate. We have to be prepared. Everything must be prepared for the celebration. That's why prepare is better than for the celebration. See, if we do anything surprise, don't need to prepare. We have to prepare too. That's why everything must be prepared. Thank you.
Okay. Many people think we are going overboard with made-up holidays. If there was legislation passed to remove Father's Day from the holiday list, what persuasive argument could you make to keep it right where it is? Jethro?
Well, persuasive point to make Father's Day retain as a holiday. Okay, first of all, who would want Father's Day to be abolished as a holiday? Nobody in their right mind to delete Father's Day in part of our lives now to be a holiday. And well, Father has a deep root in our hearts, and we always honor Father as a person we look upon to, and even some religion call their God as Father also. It's very difficult for us to simply ignore Father in our lives and to delete it or not honor Father as a holiday for everyone. For me is unthinkable. So right now, as we celebrate Father's Day, we should always look back in our lives when we were still little and we're honoring and we were having our time with our Father. Think of it that way, and once we come up, we came along with that proposition of abolishing Father, then we might not be voting against it. Thank you very much.
One more question. Mother's Day usually involves flowers, candies, and dinner for Mom. What makes for a great Father's Day agenda? Nellie?
A good day for
would take him out. He's a real big seafood lover. So I actually have an Italian restaurant that I usually take him to. So I would take him out there. I'd give him some seafood. We would eat, drink, be merry. And after that's over, maybe go out and go check out a movie or something like that. So to make it short, just like Master.MP4 said, sincere. Be sincere. Be brief. Be sincere.
Yeah, very good.
Why do you think Mother's Day gets a bigger bang than Father's Day? And do you think that most fathers really care about this terrible injustice? Mercedes?
Okay, Mother's Day is more, recognized on Father's Day. As Rex said before, there's a lot of broken homes right now. There's a lot of women taking care of the children on their own. So I think this is why it's more recognized right now than Father's Day, even though that I don't think that is fair, because there's a lot of parents, fathers that are good fathers, and they need to be recognized as well. So to me, I really think that Mother's Day is more celebrated and recognized because of single women taking care of the kids on their own. That's it.
Thank you. My dad passed away several years ago, about 3 years ago. And there were so many things I would have liked to ask him that I never got the chance to. To this day, I still regret not asking him many things. Regardless of whether your father is living or not, what is one question you would like to ask your father, and not just ask, but like to have him answer as well? Yves Rose?
My father passed away also since 1964, but I always I miss him a lot. Because a lot of things, I would like to ask him, because my mother was the only one who raised us. One question I would ask him.
Take your time.
Because when he was a lot, he always stayed there for us. When I go home, high school, I miss him. I would like him to be there to watch, because he spent a lot, he invested a lot of time with us. I would like him to be there with you, to watch us, to use what he did for us.
Thank you. What is the fondest memory you have of your father? Heinwin?
One of I cannot remember most of the memory, but I would say when I was like around didn't realize that like the value of the family until I started like staying away from my father. Like he's in home country and I'm in here. So, but every time I think about it, my family, I miss my past that we go together, like to the vacations, to the beach. That would be one of the most valuable memories that I had. And as well as when I was last year, when he was here, I celebrate his birthday for him, and then because that was my first time that I am money here, and I use my own cash to celebrate the birthday for him, and he's very happy about it, and I was so excited. Yeah, I think that is also another one of the memories that I have.
And our last question, since we as Toastmasters like to speak to people, are you the kind of person who would wish a stranger a happy Father's Day or not? Second time guest, Jim.
Could I pass, please?
You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. Just go.
Question again? Oh, sure. We like to speak to people as Toastmasters. Are you the kind of person who would wish a stranger a happy Father's Day or not?
Yes, I would. I think it's a good thing to do. Fathers are very important. They've been getting a lot of hit these days. Someone wish him Father's Day.
All right. And on that note, we will welcome back the General Evaluator, Romano.
Thank you, Mike. That was a great session. I want to thank everybody that participated. It's really great, to see people coming up here and just trying to speak. That's the best thing you can do is just get up here and try. And we're all here to support everybody. So great job. Thank you, Mike. So good morning again, fellow Toastmasters and welcome guests. For the benefit of the first-time guests, I'm the General Evaluator for today's meeting. First I will call on the speech evaluators, then I'll call on the counter, the grammarian, and the timer for their report. After that, I'll give a brief synopsis of the meeting with recommendations for improvement. Evaluation is an important component of a Toastmasters meeting. Unless we get feedback on our speeches, we will not improve. For the benefit, again, of the first-time guests, one recommended approach that our speech evaluators use is the sandwich approach. And first in that approach, first we start with praise for the speakers, then we follow up with suggestions for improvement, and then we end again with praises for the speakers. So without further ado, I'd like to call on our first speech evaluator, who is Tia Stewart, who will be evaluating Sue Lu. Please give a warm welcome to Tia.
Good morning, members, guests, and especially Sue Lu.
Good morning.
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 Sue's objective was to inspire the audience to improve personally, emotionally, professionally, or spiritually, relying heavily on emotional appeal. And I must say you did an amazing job at doing just that. I loved how you opened your speech. You engaged the audience. You asked them questions that was thought-provoking. And aside from all of that, I want to say that when I first saw your speech title, I heard and felt a yes in my spirit. because I've been complaining a lot lately and I needed that reminder. So thank you so much for that. You engage your audience and you ask them about moments where, or things over the week where they may have complaints. And I really liked that because immediately I had to think about things that I complained over the week, and I had to, give myself a little tap on the wrist for that. And I also had to pull myself from my thoughts because I had to obviously give you an evaluation. So I thought that was a very good way of opening up your speech. I loved your stories, and I loved especially your stories about your grandfather and your father because I felt they were very heartfelt and it drew the audience in. So I really liked that about your speech as well. As far as any improvements, the only thing that I have to say about that is that you mentioned in the beginning about how less complaining leads to changing lives, and I wanted to know for you, how did that change your life personally? But to me, that was the only thing that I felt that needed improvement. The overall speech was great. I thoroughly enjoyed your speech, and I wanted to say congratulations on completing your CC manual. And yeah, once again, thank you for the reminder. I really do.
Thank you, Tia, for your evaluation. Our next speech evaluator is going to be Lou Duarte. He will be evaluating Victoria Lynn. Please give a warm welcome to Lou.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Especially Victoria Lynn. Pregnancy sucks. Sure it does. Victoria's objectives were to inspire the audience by appealing to noble motives and challenging the audience to achieve a higher level of beliefs and achievements. She was also encouraged to appeal to the audience's needs and emotions and avoid using notes. I think Victoria achieved all those objectives very well. What impressed me the most is your ability to paint a picture of your journey. You took us through the sonograms, the emotional, the physical, how your husband supports you, you want to punch him in the face. And you painted this broad picture to give us an idea and really step in the shoes of what you're going through. And especially for, I think I can speak for the men, it's really hard for us to relate because we will never be able to experience that. So being able to paint that picture is really very inspiring. I also enjoyed that you were able to give a warm personal touch to the speech. You talked about how you and your mom connected. Now that you're pregnant, now you feel what she went through, and you can't wait to spoil your own child when she comes into this world. You also mentioned that your party days are over, which I'm sure you're kind of upset about. But the personal touch really added to the speech. I didn't see many weaknesses or areas of improvement. These are very minor. This is a very personal story, and you really want to connect with the audience. And throughout your speech, you stood here, and whether we want to admit it or not, the podium acts as a barrier to the audience. So I suggest you kind of move around a little bit and really connect. The other thing you mentioned was that you went through psychological and physical challenges. I think it would have been best if you touched on it a little bit more and talked about what exactly you're going through, because I know, well, I've heard pregnancies can take you through a range of emotions. And physically, what else are you going through? And also maybe touched on a little bit more about how your family's supporting you through this whole time. You used a lot of humor in your speech, kept it very light, very engaging, kept the audience connected, and you used very little notes, which I'm very impressed. So congratulations on your pregnancy, and I look forward to your next speech.
Thank you, Lou, for that very detailed evaluation. Our next speech evaluator is Phil Giborde. He will be evaluating Greg Rappaport. Please give a warm welcome to Phil.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests.
Good morning.
Good morning, Phil.
And a special good morning to Mr. Craig Rappaport. How are you, Craig? speech, you mentioned the Brady Bunch and Cosby Show, and you remind us that it was a perfect family on TV, and how much we would all like to have a perfect family, but it ain't so. Especially when they miss the medication. The whole saying, we don't get to choose them, right? We just inherit them. Then you made a beautiful transition. You went into your dad, your father, about the things that you and he shared, a few things that were special to you. And I'm sure it was very touching and special to him. You guide us into how he sang, or you guys would sing in the car, the 12th day of Christmas in July. And you shared with us how he took you to the hospital. He was there for you. Can you appear to see how special it was? And how he threw the ball to you in all the wrong places. Yeah. A father and son relationship is always difficult, but yet bonded and rewarding. And you share that with us. You try to bring the story which you, your dad, to us, and then you compile that with you telling us about you. How you watch your kids play baseball uncoordinatedly. And you reflect back upon your dad as a parent, or a guy would, or anyone would. Well, what would my dad have been thinking when I was doing it? What would he have said or wanted to say to us? And then you bring us into your dad there again as a father. And how you look at your children today in the eyes of your dad and what he would have said and have said. Not only that, you also tell us about you being a teacher, how you look around every day in your classroom and in your school, and you see how many kids does not have a dad in their life, and what a difference it made in a negative way in their lives. And because of not having a dad, it will have a negative impact in their life, long term and short term. So you brought a nice story into us, very nicely, very good with you, your dad, and your profession. However, there was a funny story. It should have been a funny story. And when I saw that I was evaluating you, and you were doing one of those funny speeches, I remember some of your few speeches. You know, like one of them that comes to mind, a classic. You know, if it's for free, it's for me. And I was saying that to someone this morning about that. I think Kathleen's free. I said, if it's free, it's for me. It's warming up to your thing, you know.